They all say it. Strangers, family, even my barista the morning after he was born. He has your eyes. And I used to smile. I used to feel proud, like some piece of me lived in him, in his laugh, his tantrums, the way his nose crinkles when he's confused. But now I look in the mirror, and all I see is a stranger staring back. Because none of it is mine. Not his eyes. Not his blood. Not even the story of how he came to be. I found out on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic day. No storm. No affair caught in motion. Just a Tuesday, cold and ordinary. I'd come home early from work, hoping to surprise Emily, my wife, with her favorite sushi and maybe a little breathing room after a week of teething-induced sleepless nights. The house was quiet when I came in. Too quiet. The baby monitor blinked softly on the counter, the white noise hummed like static in my chest. I found her in the bathroom, not crying, just sitting, fully clothed, her back against the tub, eyes red but dry. In her hands was a piece of paper folded too many times. When she saw me, she flinched, not startled. Guilty. Hey, I said, setting the sushi bag down, unsure of why I suddenly felt like I was intruding in my own home. Everything okay? She didn't answer right away, just looked at me. And I swear to God, it was like she was trying to memorize my face. I need to tell you something, she said. But you have to let me finish before you say anything. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. She unfolded the paper and passed it to me. My name wasn't on it. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. There were numbers, percentages, some kind of chart. Then the heading hit me like a slap. Paternity analysis results. It was dated 2 weeks ago. It listed a name, not mine, under alleged father. And under probability of paternity, it read 99.999%. My chest went hollow. My brain was trying to fill in the gaps, a mistake, maybe, a test from before we met. But our son was only 2. We'd been together for 5, married for 4. I didn't mean to lie, she said quietly. I had to. I didn't know how else to fix it. My hands were shaking. Fix what? I didn't cheat on you, she said quickly. Not like that. Not how you think. I did it. I did it for us. That sentence hit harder than the paper in my hand. I looked at her and saw a stranger in my wife's skin. For us. I repeated. My voice sounded far away. She closed her eyes. We tried for 2 years. Nothing. Do you remember how hard that was? The tests, the doctors, the blaming ourselves? And then when the results came back, when they told us that I was sterile, I remember every word. The quiet in that doctor's office. The way she held my hand and said it didn't change how she felt. The way I cried into her lap that night, certain I had failed her, failed our future. I couldn't watch you fall apart again, she said. You wanted to be a father so badly, and I wanted to give that to you. I thought if I could just make it happen, you'd never have to know. I took a step back. You let me think he was mine. He is yours, Jacob, she whispered. Not by blood, but Stop. It came out sharp. Too loud. The baby stirred on the monitor. I looked down at the test again. A stranger's name. A man I didn't know. Somewhere out there, he was walking around with no idea he had a son. And I had built my entire world around a lie. I picked someone who looked like you, she said. Same build, same coloring. It was just one time. I planned it. I tracked everything. I did it for us. The words hit like ice water. You had a child with another man, I said slowly, so that I wouldn't feel broken. Her silence was the answer. I couldn't breathe. I did it out of love, she said again, quieter this time, like it would soften the blow. You were falling apart, Jacob. I thought if I could give you this, we could move on. Be happy. And we were, weren't we? You love him. He is your son. I stared at her. She believed that. She believed this was love. I turned and walked out of the bathroom, not because I didn't care, but because if I stayed, I didn't know what I'd say or if I'd ever forgive myself for saying it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor of the guest room, the one we used to call the office, before it filled with boxes of diapers and toy storage, and stared at the paternity test until the numbers blurred. 99.999%. It wasn't even close. He was definitely the father. At 2:14 a.m., I heard Emily's soft footsteps in the hallway. She paused outside the door. I could hear her breathing, like she was waiting for permission to speak. I didn't give it. After a few seconds, she walked away. The next morning, I fed our son, my mind corrected, even though it felt like a lie now. He smiled at me between bites of banana oatmeal. His hair stuck up in the back, like it always did. His left eye drooped slightly when he yawned. He looked so much like I didn't even know anymore. Emily didn't come down. I didn't go up. By the third day, the silence between us was unbearable. But it wasn't the kind that boiled with tension. It was worse than that. Cold. Settled. The silence of something already broken. I needed to know who he was. The man she picked. The one who looked like me. So I asked. We were in the kitchen. She was pretending to clean dishes she'd already rinsed twice. I was leaning against the fridge like it was the only thing holding me up. Who is he? I asked. She didn't turn around. Does it matter? It matters to me. She dried her hands slowly. Then, finally, she faced me. His name's Alex, she said. He was a donor. Not officially, but someone I knew in college. We weren't close, but he always said if anyone ever needed help getting pregnant, he'd do it. Thought it was noble. We ran into each other about a month after we got your diagnosis. I felt sick. So you just, what? Called him up? Asked him to sleep with you for the sake of your marriage? No, she said quickly. It wasn't like that. I explained everything. That I was married. That I wanted a child. That it would be just once, and clinical, no contact, no future involvement. He agreed. I stared at her. You arranged an affair like it was a business transaction. It wasn't an affair. I didn't love him. But you loved me, I said. And you still did it. She didn't answer. I felt the floor shift under me. Everything I'd known, every smile, every bedtime story, every whispered hope, suddenly lived under the shadow of that one night. One night I didn't know about. One night that changed everything. You didn't think I had the right to know? I asked. I thought I was sparing you. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. She sounded like someone defending a lie on the witness stand. Calm. Practiced. Almost self-righteous. You let me name him, I said. You let me stand in that hospital and sign the birth certificate like a proud father. You watched me cry when he took his first steps. I didn't want to take that from you. But you already had. She flinched. And I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel anything, really. Just hollow. I started sleeping in the guest room. She didn't protest. We passed each other in the hallway like roommates. Said good morning and did he eat? And don't forget the appointment on Friday. The small talk of two people trying not to scream. One night, a week after the truth broke, I woke to the sound of muffled crying. I got up, followed it to the nursery. The soft hum of the baby monitor still buzzed, casting everything in gray-blue. She was in the rocking chair, our son curled against her shoulder, fast asleep. Her face was buried in his hair. And she was sobbing. Quiet, shaking sobs that she didn't try to hide. I watched from the doorway, unseen. For a second, a stupid second, I wanted to wrap my arms around her and tell her it was okay, that we'd find a way back. But it wasn't okay. And some things, once broken, don't go back. Especially not when they were built on a lie. The next day, I looked up Alex. I had his last name from the paternity test. Just enough. It took less than 15 minutes. He lived in the same city, worked in IT, had a public Instagram with photos of himself hiking, Smiling, kayaking, the usual curated self. One photo stood out. A Halloween post from 3 years ago. He was dressed as a pirate. Standing next to him, grinning in a matching costume, was Emily. I stared at the caption. Throwback to when Emily convinced me to wear this ridiculous getup. It was posted 7 months before our son was born. A throwback to something more than just a costume party. I kept scrolling. Found more posts. Smiles that were too comfortable. Comments like, best night ever, and you always knew how to make me laugh. She said it was clinical. She said it was just once. But now I had a face, a timeline, and a sinking suspicion that the lie went deeper than she let on. So I sent him a message. Hey, Alex, we need to talk. About Emily. And about the son you don't know you have. Alex replied within the hour. Hey man, I'm sorry, but who is this? I didn't blame him for the confusion. I'd sent the message from a burner email I'd made the night before, sitting in the cold guest room with my laptop balanced on my knees and a whiskey I hadn't planned on pouring. I hadn't slept again. I typed back. Your name came up on a paternity test. My wife's name is Emily. My son's name is Liam. We need to talk. Face to face. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then came the reply. What kind of sick joke is this? I expected that. I didn't respond right away. Just attached the photo of the paternity results and hit send. 5 minutes of silence. Then, where? We met at a park. Neutral ground. It was the middle of the day, a place where people walked dogs and pushed strollers and pretended life was normal. The sky was gray, windy, cold enough to sting, but not enough to numb. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench, phone in hand, leg bouncing uncontrollably. When he saw me, he stood. We both hesitated. He looked ordinary. Not some villain, not some evil mastermind. Just a guy in a Patagonia jacket and worn jeans who didn't yet realize what kind of storm he'd stepped into. You Jacob? He asked. I nodded. You Alex? He shoved his hands into his pockets. All right, man. You've got 5 minutes. But if this is some kind of scam, it's not. I handed him a copy of the test. The real one, not a photo. He read it. Then read it again. His mouth opened slightly, like his brain couldn't form the words fast enough to catch the truth. She told me she was married, he said eventually. Said it was clinical. A one-time thing. I didn't know she actually. He broke off, running a hand through his hair. She said you agreed to help. That it was all very planned. I mean, yeah, I did. I signed some papers she gave me. Said it was to protect everyone involved. No rights. No contact. I didn't even think she'd go through with it. I thought she just needed to feel like she had options. And now you have a son, I said, voice flat. He flinched. You didn't want kids? No. I did. I do. He looked away. But not like this. Not with someone else's wife. We sat in silence for a minute. The kind of silence that wraps around you like a heavy coat. Not warm, but suffocating. I watched a father push his daughter on a swing. Her giggle floated through the air like a sound from another life. I'm not here to threaten you, I said. I just needed to know who you were. What you knew. I didn't know, he said quietly. Swear to God. I figured she had a donor lined up and just didn't want to go through a clinic. She always hated hospitals. You knew her well enough to know that. He didn't respond. How long? I asked. You and her. He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Off and on in college. Then again, a few times after. Drinks. Talking. Nothing serious. But enough to sleep together when she asked. She said it was about closure. About helping someone she loved. I laughed, bitter. That sounds like her. He glanced at me. What happens now? I stood. Nothing. As far as I'm concerned, you're a stranger. He doesn't know you. He never will. But he's... No, my voice was steel. He's not yours. He may not be biologically mine, but I've held him through every fever. I've taught him to walk, to speak, to laugh. I've carried the weight of fatherhood every damn day. You're a name on a page. That's it. He didn't fight it, just nodded. When I got home, Emily was sitting at the kitchen table, her laptop open but untouched. She looked up when I walked in. Her eyes were tired, her hands folded too neatly. "You found him," she said. I didn't ask how she knew. Maybe she'd been watching my phone. Maybe she just knew me too well. "Yes." "Did you tell him?" "I told him everything he needed to know, which isn't much." She exhaled slowly. "I never wanted this." "No," I said. "You just wanted control. You wanted to skip the part where you trusted me with your pain and fast forward to the version of life where everything was fixed." Her lip trembled. "I was scared, Jacob." "So was I." She stood, walked toward me like a child, hoping not to be scolded. "Do you hate me?" she whispered. I didn't answer it, because the truth was worse than hate. I didn't feel anything anymore, just numb. That night, I slept in the nursery. I pulled the little armchair into the corner and watched Liam sleep. His mouth hung open slightly, just like mine did. His fingers curled around the edge of his blanket, like he was holding on to something precious. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew this. I couldn't live in the same house as someone who thought love meant lying. And Emily, no matter how many bedtime stories she read, or how many tears she cried, had rewritten our marriage into something unrecognizable. A week passed, then two, and slowly, the truth started to rot its way through everything we'd built. We kept it quiet. No shouting, no slammed doors. Emily moved her things into the guest room without a word, and I started leaving earlier in the mornings, staying out later at night. We made small talk when Liam was around, which was most of the time. He was too young to understand, but not too young to feel the shift. He cried more, woke up at night screaming for no reason, clung to me like I might disappear. And some nights, I thought about doing just that. Not out of spite, not even out of pain, but because staying felt like agreeing with her. Then came the letter. I found it on the kitchen table when I came home from work. No envelope, just a page of heavy, cream-colored paper with Liam's name written at the top in looping script. It looked like a birth announcement. I assumed it was something from Emily's scrapbook box. I almost tossed it aside. Then I saw the logo at the top corner. Oak and Rowan, Family Law and Estate Planning. My stomach dropped. It wasn't an announcement. It was a draft of a guardianship agreement. One I'd never seen. One that listed Emily as Liam's sole legal guardian. And me? I wasn't mentioned. Not once. I sat down hard, the kitchen chair scraping the tile. My hands trembled as I flipped through it. Page after page of legal language I barely understood, but enough to catch the implications. This wasn't just a hypothetical. She was planning something. When she came in, her face went pale. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said, her voice small. "No kidding," I said, holding the letter up. "Planning to cut me out completely? Go full clean slate fantasy?" "It wasn't like that," she said quickly. "It's just a precaution. I didn't even file it." Yet, I cut in. Silence. "You told me he was mine in every way that mattered," I said, standing now. "But now that it's convenient, you're ready to erase me from his life." Just like that. I was protecting him. "No, you were protecting your story," I spat. "The version where you're the martyr, and I'm the footnote." Tears welled in her eyes. But I didn't trust them anymore. "I didn't want this to get ugly," she whispered. "You made it ugly the second you lied to me." She sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "I just wanted to hold on to what we had." "But we don't have anything anymore," I said. "We have a child. And lies. That's it." That night, I called a lawyer. I didn't want to fight for custody, not yet. But I wanted the truth on paper. I wanted something real in my hands that proved I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't just some placeholder in my own life. The lawyer was blunt. After reading the test and the timeline, he said what I already knew. Legally, you're his father because you signed the birth certificate. Unless she challenges it, you're still the one with rights. But if she does challenge it, it gets messy. Especially if biological paternity is introduced. Messy. That word clung to me for days. The idea that someone, some court, some judge, could sit across from me and decide whether I was enough of a father just because I didn't share Liam's DNA. That my memories with him might not count because my wife rewrote biology behind my back. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. And then came the second betrayal. It happened by accident, as most things do when you're not looking for them. Liam's daycare had an event. Parents' Day. The kind with glitter and tiny handprints and paper crowns made out of construction paper. I almost didn't go. I was barely holding it together. But I showed up, sat crammed into a too small plastic chair, smiling weakly while Liam beamed next to me. Then I saw the man. At first, I didn't recognize him. He was standing by the juice table, holding a tray of orange slices, chatting with one of the daycare staff like he'd done it a dozen times before. I only knew who he was when he turned and looked directly at me. Alex. He froze, then gave a small nod. Guilty. Hesitant. I walked over. I thought we had an understanding, I said under my breath. I'm not here for him, he said quickly. My niece goes here. My sister needed help picking her up. But I didn't believe him. Not after what I saw next. Because Liam, my son, saw him. And smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a passing glance. A smile like recognition. Like comfort. Like something familiar. I felt cold. After the event, I pulled Emily aside. She'd been chatting with other moms. Laughing too easily. Like she could still wear the mask of the perfect wife. Why does Liam know Alex? Her face drained of color. She didn't speak. Emily, I said slowly. Why does my son know the man you said was just a donor? I never meant for it to happen, she said. But after you found out, I thought maybe it would help too. To what? Start integrating him into Liam's life? Behind my back? She didn't answer. And I realized then, she had already decided. About custody. About rewriting our family. About building a version of the truth where I was just the man who held the door while she walked through it. The final lie wasn't what she did. It was what she planned to do next. I didn't say anything for 3 days. Not to Emily. Not to Alex. Not even to Liam. Though every time he looked up at me with those wide, innocent eyes, something cracked a little deeper. I couldn't sleep in that house anymore. Not with her just across the hall. Not with her waking up and putting on coffee like she hadn't quietly introduced another man to our son behind my back. Not with her humming to herself while packing his lunch, smiling like she'd already won. Because that's what it felt like. A slow, quiet war I didn't even know I was losing. Until that day at daycare, I still thought there was some version of this we could survive. That maybe she was just lost, desperate, misguided. But now I saw it clearly. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was replacing me. One brick at a time. I met with my lawyer again, this time in person. What are my chances, I asked, if she pushes for full custody? He leaned back, folding his hands. You're legally listed as the father. You've raised him. You're married. That's a strong position. But the court may order a DNA test if she challenges paternity. If that happens, he didn't need to finish the sentence. I'd go from father to stranger. All because I trusted her. But if she's committed fraud, he added carefully, if she knowingly misled you into signing that birth certificate, and she's now introducing a third party, someone who is biologically related, it changes things. Especially if there's evidence of intent. I nodded. Evidence of intent. Like a fake guardianship letter. Like letting Alex show up at daycare. Like removing me from every plan for Liam's future. I left the office with a folder tucked under my arm and one thought pounding in my head. I'd let her lie for too long. That night, I sat across from her in the living room. She was on the couch. I was in the armchair. Liam was asleep upstairs. She looked at me like she already knew something had changed. I talked to my lawyer, I said. Her face didn't move. So did I. Of course she had. I'm filing a petition to affirm paternity, I said. I'm also submitting documentation of fraud and your recent attempt to introduce Alex into Liam's life as grounds for custody review. A flash of panic crossed her face. Just for a second. Then she schooled it into calm. That's not going to look good for either of us, Jacob. Courts don't like drama. They like stability. I am stability, I snapped. I'm the only constant that kids ever had. She folded her arms. You're angry. I get it. But dragging us through court won't help Liam. You should have thought of that before you brought a stranger to his daycare. He's not a stranger. That was it. That was the last thread snapping. Then let's tell the court that, I said. Let's see how they feel about a married woman lying about conception, manipulating a paternity document, and introducing a third man without legal notice. Her voice cracked then. You're not doing this for Liam. You're doing it to hurt me. No, I said. I'm doing it because I finally understand something. She leaned forward, arms still crossed, trying to hold her composure. You didn't just cheat on me, Emily. You made a decision for both of us, without asking. You thought you could rewrite biology and morality and marriage, and I'd just live with it. That I'd thank you for giving me a son. But I didn't ask for a son this way. Her eyes filled with tears. You love him. God help me, I whispered. I do. That's what makes this so much worse. We sat there, neither of us moving, while the monitor buzzed from the kitchen, soft, steady, a hum like a warning. Upstairs, Liam slept in a bed I built, under a nightlight I bought, in a room painted with my hands. And suddenly, I couldn't sit anymore. I walked past her, up the stairs, into the nursery. I stood in the doorway for a long time, just watching him breathe. Then I went back downstairs, past her still silent frame on the couch, and into the garage. I pulled out the boxes. One for my things. One for Liam's. One for everything I couldn't leave behind, even if it wasn't technically mine. By morning, I had a new plan. I wasn't going to beg the court to let me stay in her life. I was going to ask the court to let Liam stay in mine. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not in temperature, though the air conditioning was relentless, but in presence. Cold in the way fluorescent lights are. Cold in the way a life can be reduced to paper. The judge was a woman in her 50s. Measured. Pale hair pulled tight. No nonsense. The kind of person who probably kept her own emotions folded neatly in a drawer. Emily sat 2 tables away, in a navy blazer I'd never seen before, her lawyer whispering something in her ear. She didn't look at me. Not once. My attorney had prepared everything. The affidavit. The paternity challenge. The signed birth certificate. The guardianship draft she'd hidden. A log of daycare interactions. Even a sworn letter from a mutual friend who overheard Emily discussing phasing me out gradually. All of it was enough. Not for revenge. But for clarity. The hearing didn't last long. We weren't there to fight over money or property. We weren't even there to finalize custody. Not yet. This was about one thing. Was I, Jacob Martin, the legal father of Liam? Was I, despite the truth of biology, a parent in the eyes of the state? I'd expected to be questioned, cross-examined, torn apart for not seeing the truth sooner. But what happened instead surprised me. The judge called me to the stand, asked me one question. Why do you want to remain his father? And for a moment, I just sat there, heart thudding in my ears. Then I said, because I was there. She nodded for me to go on. I was there when he couldn't sleep unless my hand was on his chest. I was there when he took his first steps between the living room and the kitchen. I held him when he had the flu and screamed through the night. I taught him the names of dinosaurs and how to stack blocks and what it means when someone says, "I love you." I paused. I may not share his blood, but I've poured every part of myself into that boy. I gave him my name, my time, my patience, my heart. If that isn't fatherhood, then I don't know what is. The courtroom was silent. Even Emily looked down. The judge didn't smile. She just nodded once, scribbled something, and said, "I'll issue a ruling within the week." I walked out with my attorney. We didn't say much, but I didn't go home. Not to that house. Not to her. I checked into a small extended stay near the edge of town. Nothing fancy. Clean carpets, a kitchenette, a crib available on request. I paid for 2 weeks up front. Told them I might need more. The waiting nearly broke me. Every hour felt like I was holding my breath underwater, counting how long until I surfaced. I went to work. I came back. I stared at Liam's empty crib and wondered what kind of father doesn't know where his son is sleeping. On the 5th day, the call came. The court affirmed me as Liam's legal father. Unanimously. The judge's ruling stated that while the biological circumstances were extraordinary, the emotional and legal precedence of my role was undeniable. Emily couldn't revoke my rights. She couldn't write me out of his life. And just like that, the quiet war ended. But the damage was already done. We divorced quietly. No custody battle. No drawn-out trial. She knew she'd lose, or at least she knew she'd have to share. We settled on joint custody, though I ended up with primary. Her presence in Liam's life faded over time. First it was every weekend, then every other, then just holidays. Eventually, she moved out of state. Liam never called Alex Dad. Never asked about him. And I never brought it up. I never showed Liam the paternity test. Maybe someday I will. When he's older. When it matters. When it won't shatter the world he's known since birth. Until then, I raise him the way I always have, with both hands and all my heart. Sometimes I still wake up and wonder if it was real. If I really spent years inside a lie so carefully constructed that I didn't see the rot until it was inside the walls. But then I hear Liam laugh from the next room. And I remember. I may not have asked for this story. But I chose how it ended. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.